Hello world, welcome to the 241st climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is July 4th, 2023. This is a special edition of the climate change protest. And the reason for that is it's July 4th, and that is America's Independence Day from Great Britain back in 1776, even though the Revolutionary War started before that. But that's the day the Declaration of Independence was posted officially. And next week will be the 242nd Climate Change Emergency Protest. That'll be on July 14th, 2023. This is number 241. So this is Independence Day. That's the title of my broadcast. It's a special broadcast because it involves more than the past. It involves our future. So the Declaration of Independence was written on or published on July 4th, 1776. That was 247 years ago. A climate change declaration of independence is what I shall be reading, and if you look at this from a climate change point of view, it makes perfectly good sense. I took out certain parts of the Declaration of Independence and I'm reading the most important parts in my mind. So this is in Congress, July 4th, 1776. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, institute a new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves and abolish in the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government, and to provide a new guard for their future security. So I'll interpret kind of what they mean and what this means in terms of climate change. So our government and governments of the world are not protecting its citizens and all life on Earth. They're engaged in policies that are hell-bent on killing us from a climate change point of view, drilling, authorizing new drilling, not having any plans for our future and our security. We are in the middle of the sixth mass extinction in the history of the Earth, and the rate of extinction is 10,000 times the rate. It's faster, 10,000 times faster than the average of all previous extinctions. There have been 5 mass extinctions before this. We're going at a rate of extinction of plants and animals on this planet right now 10,000 times faster than the previous 5 extinctions, the average of that. So you understand, this is nuts. Instead of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we're going to enslave ourselves to death, enslavement to our catastrophic destiny, resulting in sorrow and not happiness. Instead of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we're going through death, enslavement due to our catastrophic destiny, and resulting in sorrow and not happiness. At the very least, go to my page, my webpage, Jim McHenry, and also go down the following pages on YouTube. Environmental Coffee House, really great talks on Fridays. Paul Beckwith, he does excellent talks. He's a professor. Peter Carter, really great speaker as well. Also on YouTube, you got Extinction Rebellion and Roger Hallam. This is where your head should be right now. Roger Hallam and Extinction Rebellion, if you're going to do anything, go to check out their multiple broadcasts, their protests, and things like that. And right now, this is where we should be mentally, as far as our progressive attitude and our forward attitude and thinking to protect ourselves and how things should be. So think about those in charge who have been in charge. They are responsible for where we are right now. It's because of them and their policies, whether it's the present people, which are horrible, and in the past as well. So we need to change things, and this is what the Declaration of Independence the Climate Change Declaration of Independence is basically saying we need to change what's going on. We need to change this path we're on. You can't continue on a rate that's 10,000 times faster than the previous extinctions and expect to come out of this alive. Okay, we're compressing millions of years of what it takes to extinct things into a decade or two, like 10, 20 years, and we're compressing all the previous rates of extinctions that happened in the past, and we're doing this in a decade or two. We're wiping ourselves out, and we're seeing it right now in the United States, especially, with everywhere is affected right now by climate change, and you can't escape it. It's what's happening. So before you vote, understand this. And I know I don't want to make this political, but the problem is our system is entwined with the politics of the era. They're the ones who make the decisions. So the only way to get out of it is to change the political field. Okay, so you got to look forward as to what you're doing. So before you vote, don't do this dogmatic Republican, Democrat in the United States, or Labor in whatever party in your country. You got to look at their policies and what's been going on, and not the glazed over, oh, they're wonderful people. No, they're doing horrendous things. Every country, their leaders are doing horrendous things. Okay, they're not talking about climate change. They're not dealing with climate change, and their policies are against climate change and trying to get out of this situation. Instead of being 10,000 times the rate of extinction, we're probably going to go 20,000 times very soon, because we're accelerating things, and things are getting worse and worse and worse in the United States especially. I mean, you look at the heat domes, the smoke from Canada, the tornadoes. We're racking up deaths every day. And if this was a war, people would be horrified. But it's like, oh, well, someone drowned it over there. Someone flew up in the air in a tornado or got blasted by their building. These people died of heat exhaustion. These people died of smoke inhalation, which they don't associate with climate change. But the fact is, the Canadian fires are burning. The smoke's coming down here and choking people with asthma. So understand this. Those in charge in high government are engaged in policies that will kill you, if not you, your children, and your future unborn offspring. It's not going to have next generations at the pace we're going. We're in massive tipping points right now. And the problem with a tipping point is, once you get past, if you're in a boat and you start a canoe, you start tipping it. That's where the phrase comes from. You get to the point where you can no longer control it, and the boat just flips over. And we're right at the edge of that if we're not already tipping over. And the only way to get out of the situation or have any chance of mitigating the situation or slowing it down is to do the right thing and do the right voting and do the right advocation. Be a climate change activist and all. Do your part. Start speaking out. Start talking to your friends and family and neighbors. This is what's happening. So it is your duty as a citizen of this planet and to the next generations to be fully informed as to the monsters in sheep's clothing that are your leaders right now. They're monsters in sheep's clothing. They're acting like, hey, how's it going? Pat you on the back. Everything's wonderful. France first, USA first, UK first. Everyone's about their country being first, rather than looking at it as a whole planet. The boundaries don't exist when it comes to climate change. Everything's affecting everything else. War is not peace, ignorance is not strength, and freedom is not slavery. Declaration of Independence, 1984, things like that. War is not peace, ignorance is not strength, freedom is not slavery. Sitting idly by, allowing your destiny to be controlled by others with only slight whimpers to what at the end you finally give a final whimper as to, oh wow, I wish things had been different. That's not a good life led. Okay, you should be fighting to the end, not for yourself, which is important, but for your children and your grandchildren and your neighbors' children and people you don't even know in Africa or Asia or Australia, things like that. You can't just whimper out and just at the end go, I wish I'd done something different. That's not how you want to end it all. Okay, you have a small time line on this earth and your time frame to live a good life, and this is it. This is your one chance. You can believe in reincarnation or whatever, but in reality, if you are believing in reincarnation, would you want to come back to this? A hellscape that's going to be happening in the next 5 years? Most likely, next year, 2024, will be the hottest year in human history. Why? Because we got El Nino starting up and is kicking in full force. In my mind, we're into an El Padre where El Nino never goes away. But you got El Nino starting up, venting off heat from the oceans. You've got the sun is at its highest activity level and will be until 2025. And you got climate change going on due to greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Those three things are a triple whammy, and most likely next year, 2024, is going to be a blazing hot year for the whole world. And with that comes weird vortexes in the atmosphere and strange things happening, and I can't begin to tell you what's going to happen, but I can tell you it's not going to be pretty. So if you only go out with a whimper, please don't do that. Go out with some strength and some power, and informing others and inspiring others to do other things other than just sit by and be silent and complicit with what is going on. The earth demands and deserves your love and respect, while those engaged in the demise of not only the human race but all life on earth deserve neither. Okay, that's essentially what that Declaration of Independence was saying, that when people are engaged in a policy that is designed to end your life and make your life insufferable, you not only should have a better life, you deserve a better life, and it is your solemn duty to overthrow that type of government and that type of attitude that is designed to end your life. So by that I mean, go to the ballot box, start getting in your politicians' faces, tell your friends and family you're not happy with what's going on, look at alternate parties running. The two parties in this country right now have policies, and I'm sad to say it because I've got a lot of friends who are in both parties, but they're engaged in policies that are designed to end us. Okay, you might think they're wonderful and whatever, they're not. They're engaged in policies that will end us, and that's why we're at 10,000 times the rate of extinction of all the previous extinctions. The average is 10,000 times the rate of extinction of all previous extinctions. Okay, how can you say more clearly? We're going over the cliff and over the edge, and everyone's just partying out like it's a great time. It's a great party, but it's really childish, and it's not being very adult to look at your children and your grandchildren and neighbors' children and people you don't even know and continue to act like it's a giant party. Get out of this childish aspect. Start making things uncomfortable for yourselves. I don't like doing these talks. It ostracizes friends and family and everyone. But it's my duty to do that, and it's your duty to take the reins and take up the mantle and start doing something as well. Please do something if you haven't already, and continue to do it. This isn't a one and done. This is the rest of your life. Whatever's left of it, next year is going to be a hellscape. So hopefully everyone will have their own Declaration of Independence and declare that and start doing the right thing. I'll see you next week.